Before we talk about importing session data, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about importing and exporting media, meaning audio, video, and MIDI. Open up the File menu and move down to Import. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to cover session data in the next couple of chapters, so let's skip right over it and jump down to audio. Pro Tools supports tons of audio file formats. From AIFF to WMA files, Pro Tools can handle it all. Selecting audio brings up the Import Audio dialog. We looked at this window briefly before, but let's take a closer look now. The first thing we need to do is find an audio file. Use this browser at the top of the dialog to find one. You can see a list of all the files it can handle by clicking on the drop-down menu here. We can also use this menu to filter this window to show only one particular type of file. Let's just leave it set to all documents. I'm going to select this loop. Once we select a file, information about the file will show up in these two areas. On the left here, we can see the type of file, its length, size, bit depth, sample rate, and the number of channels, which in this case is 2. On the right, Pro Tools gives me a message about this specific file. It says, it must be converted to be used because it is not a mono file. Pro Tools can't handle stereo interleave files. It actually converts these files into 2 mono files, one with the left channel information and one with the right channel information. Because the file I selected is stereo interleaved, it needs to be converted. Now take a look at the windows down here at the bottom. The left window shows us the file or files we've selected up here. The right window shows us the region that we are actually going to be importing. Right now, it's empty. In order to move regions from this window to this window, we need to use these buttons down the middle here. The first 2 buttons are Add and Add All. If you've selected a file that doesn't need to be converted at all, the Add buttons will light up and you can simply click them to move your items over to the import window. Because the file I selected requires conversion, only the Convert options are available. Before I hit Convert, I'm going to use the controls down here to preview the file to make sure it's the one that I want. I can change the volume here, or scroll through the file using this slider. Sounds good. Now I'll press Convert to get it ready for import. If you add a file by mistake, you can simply select it here and press Remove to get rid of it. You can even hit Remove All if you make a really big mistake. Next, we can choose to apply SRC or sample rate conversion. You'll have to do this anytime you're importing files that are a different sample rate than your project. My project is 44.1, and by looking here, we can see the file I chose is also 44.1. So I don't actually have to use this process, but I'll go through it anyway. Click the Apply SRC checkbox. First, we need to select the source sample rate, meaning the sample rate of the file we want to import. Let's pretend the file is 48 kHz. Just select the value from the drop-down or type it in manually. The destination sample rate shows us the sample rate of the project. Finally, we need to select the conversion quality. You can select anything from low to tweakhead, which is slow but produces the best results. Most of the time, selecting good or better will be fine. But if you're really concerned about quality, select best or tweakhead. Now hit done. I'm going to uncheck Apply SRC first since I don't need it on. A dialog will pop up asking us to choose a destination folder for the converted files. The audio files folder for the project is selected by default, and this is definitely the best place to put them. Hit Choose. Now we can choose to import the files to a new track or to the regions list. If we select New Track, we can choose the location down here. It can be either the session start, the song start if you've set it, the current selection, or we can use spot mode to place it precisely. Let's choose Region List. Hit OK. Now if we open the regions list, there's our file. To add it to the session, we can simply click and drag it into the main playlist here. If you just want the file to start right at the beginning of the session, just drag it to the track list and a new track will be created and the file will be placed right at the start. This is the most precise way to do it. One thing I want to mention before we head into the next chapter is that imported files don't always automatically get copied to your session folder. In this case, the file did because it had to be converted. But if I only needed to add the file, it wouldn't have been copied. The reason it's important to make sure that all the media you use is copied to the session folder is that if you ever want to back up the session or take it somewhere else, It's going to suck to have to manually find and copy every file in the session to the correct spot. You might not be able to find all the files easily, and if one file gets accidentally deleted or moved, you might find yourself in a really bad situation. To make sure everything you import into a session is copied automatically, go to the Setup menu and select Preferences. Select the Processing tab and make sure Automatically Copy Files on Import is checked. Move ahead to the next chapter to learn about importing and exporting other types of media.